Today is a special day with cops and convicts. We typically have a police officer and a convicted felon spending time communicating with one another, talking about their experiences and their lives. But we're going, uh, we're going, we're making a hard right today, and we're joined today by our guest Angelo Ales, who's got an incredible story, which I'm going to give you all the time you need to talk about it, Angelo, because it's a winding story. But first of all, I want to thank you for joining, and let's do this one more time. Salud.
Salute.
Thank you for joining us. So, Angelo, let's go back to the beginning. Tell me where you're from, how big your family was. Tell me about your childhood.
Well, first of all, Sean, I'd like to thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. And I will take you back to the early years, coming from Brooklyn, New York, where my family was born and raised. My father at that point did not want us to stay in Brooklyn, so he ventured out to Long Island. We went out to a town called East Northport. If you listen to my relatives, when they used to ride out there, it was only 46 miles away, they called it Indian Territory. Because if you weren't able to walk out of your house in Brooklyn and walk down to the neighborhood bodega, you were someplace foreign to them. So we went out there to East Northport, and I grew up out there, and I went to a high school called Comac High. And there I had a normal childhood. I was playing baseball for them. I was a three-letter man. I started playing baseball, and I decided that I was not going to concentrate on the other sports, only on baseball. And from 10th grade, 11th, and 12th, I was in a varsity member team. I then had the opportunity to turn around and go away to college. But because of something that was inside of me, and I believe it's part of my DNA, I wanted to stay around. So I played for a community college called Suffolk Community.
I heard of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Suffolk Community College out of Long Island. I played there for them in Selden. That's where the campus is. And I played for the Smithtown Yankees. There was a team, was a semi-pro team that played out there.
What positions did you play?
First base, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, played first base. And for my era, for my size, from who I was good. And I had scouts looking at us, so I went to go play in the Florida State League after that. But the problem is, what was inside my body the whole time? And because of my family background, I believe I was drawn into what I call the dark side and the underworld of organized crime.
Talk to me about your father.
My father was such a good man, a legitimate man, a big Sicilian, 6'3", 220 pounds, massive man, as strong could be. His uncle, his blood uncle's name was Paul Shocker. Paul Shocker was the boss of the Bonanno Crime Family in the 60s when they had that big episode of, did Joe Bonanno get kidnapped? Did Joe Bonanno run out to Arizona? Well, when he did that, my Uncle Paul took over the family. My father was always deathly afraid of me. My other two brothers they're saints. I mean, as good as gold.
So just you and your two brothers?
Just me and my two brothers, three of us in the family, mom and dad. But my father always knew I had the making. And he would always keep me away. Always. I'm going to speed you right up to 1978. My dad passed away of cancer. At that particular service, at the funeral parlor, Uncle Willie, Uncle Paul Shocker's brother, Willie Shocker, said to me, Angelo, weren't you the one that was involved in the bookmaking at your 7-Eleven store? I said, yeah, Uncle Willie, it was me. I got busted for running numbers and bookmaking, plus owning the 7-Eleven store with Dad. Well, you have everything it takes. You're one of us. Dad is gone. And I guess at that point, my career started in what I call the underworld of organized crime.
So back up for a second, Angelo. How we go from baseball prospect to running numbers?
Because I believe at the end of the day, Sean, greed supersedes all. And I guess some way, somehow, money became my God. It became something that I learned young, that with money you can move mountains and you can do things that the other people weren't able to do. And I just think that the money aspect and the amount of money that could be earned under the table superseded what could be earned above the table. So with that, and with, I guess, my DNA, that it was in my blood, I just felt it was time to, hit the other side.
So it makes me ask the question, what did you see? So you're at Suffolk County College.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What money and glamour did you see that made you look at your own life and say, later for this, I want to do that? What did you see?
Well, I think I saw all the toys, all the props that people that I hung around with had. In those days, Cadillacs, Lincoln Continentals, diamond pinky rings, all the things that must have been is materialistic. And to me, it was glamorous. The $1,000 suits, the $100 ties, everybody getting dressed up, and the camaraderie, being a part of something. And I think today, in my later years, at 72 years old, I look at a lot of people that are involved with street gangs, motorcycle clubs. They want to be part of something. Even though they believe they're individuals, they want to be part of something, part of an organization. I think all that was what was glorifying for me. My father saw it, and he was very concerned about me. So I get married in 1970 to my beloved wife, Geraldine Alba, and we did not have any children at the time. And Dad says, I'm going to put up the money for you to get a 7-Eleven store. So in those days, you bought a franchise for $5,000.
Where'd your dad get the money from?
Dad was a hardworking man. He was an original A-card member of Local 3 of the Brotherhood of Electricians.
Okay.
Then Dad decided not to have the tools on anymore, and he became, because he saw the money was greater on the inside as sales. So because of his knowledge of everything, my father was one of the biggest salesmen for a company called Central Queens Electric and Avon Electric, selling the items needed to build LaGuardia Airport and JFK Airport. And my father made so much money as a salesman, he couldn't even have made that if he had the tools on. So Dad put away some nice money, and he wasn't afraid to spread it around with his children. Great father. Honest as the day's long.
So your dad's honest, and his uncle
Yes.
is the boss
Yes.
of the Bonanno Crime Family.
Yes.
So you're spending time with your father, but you see he's your great uncle.
Yes, he's my great uncle.
Was he your favorite uncle?
Well, I guess in my mind he was, because of the limelight, what he was. This man that even to get a hold of him, you had to go through 3 different people.
Even you?
Even me. Because everybody was security-minded those days. Because if you go back to history, you'll see that the banana wars, as they called them, were on at that time in the 60s. Okay? And there was a struggle in that family. Who was going to be the boss? What side are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the Carmine Galante side, who was the infamous gangster who had the cigar in his mouth and he was shot up in Joe and Mary's restaurant?
At the restaurant,
in Brooklyn?
yeah, I saw that.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And of course, we can get into that at a later date. The shooters were friends of mine, and I was incarcerated with them, and I know the whole story on how it went down and why it went down. So, it was just a question of the glory. It might have been a little mixed up in my own mind, but either you have it or you don't. All right? And I guess my father saw that I had it, and I had what it would take. But he kept me away. So we did the 7-Eleven store. But could I even do that the right way? No, because I had attitude. I'm 3 months into the 7-Eleven store in 1972. In comes a supervisor for Southland Corporation. Hi. Hey, your store doesn't look clean today. Looks good to me. He says, do you understand that I am the boss? Wait a second, I thought we bought a franchise. 49% Ales family, 51% Southland. And he started to laugh at me. What's Southland Corporation? Didn't they tell you in the school that you went to that really all you're is a glorified manager and worker? No, they didn't tell me that. He said, that's what you are. So from now on, when I come in here, I want this store spick and span. I want it to look great at all times. And you will have to take my orders. No problem. As soon as he walked out, I laughed at him. I said, okay, watch this. So, knowing the ins and outs of Southland Corporation, how they worked, I put together a scheme that made me $148,000 in less than 14 months. It was the whole idea of how they did their inventory. In those days, just like McDonald's does to this day today, using that as a good example, a coffee cup in a McDonald's restaurant would be worth $1.50 just the cup on inventory. Because that's how you balance out the books. Ratios have to equal the coffee cups to the amount of coffee you buy. So here at Southland was the same exact thing. We sold coffee. We bought coffee from Martinson's. I got this figured out. In comes one day a delivery, and I go to the driver and I say, excuse me, look, I'm not being disrespectful. Can you sell me 3 cases of coffee cups for cash? He looked at me. He said, oh, you figured it out already? I said, yeah. And he sells me these 3 cases of cups. Well, what'd I pay? $40? That's not the way it works. There's 1,000 cups in there at $1 a cup. Those 3 cases are $3,000. Okay? Martinson's coffee guy comes. Hey, I want to buy some coffee for a charity event. Yeah. I said, nothing to do with Southland. No problem. How many cases you want? 3 cases. You got it. So I was able to keep the ratio of the coffee and the ratio of the cups with a second register. So, you come in and buy coffee? No problem at all. Ring it up, Southland. You come in and buy coffee. Angelo. You buy coffee, Southland. Well, that just escalated to everything. Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, candies, donuts on Sundays from Dunkin' Donuts, selling them on myself. No time flat. I made $147,000.
And you figured this out yourself. Nobody taught you.
Nobody taught me. Matter of fact, I taught Southland. Okay, I taught them a lesson. Because when they come in and did my inventory in 1974, they said to me, we got a problem here. You're short almost $200,000. What do you mean I'm short $200,000? Impossible. Well, we're looking at these cases of cups and this and that. It doesn't equal to what we bought from the main warehouse and sent here. I says, well, you know what? Probably your bookkeeping is all messed up. Oh, we got to terminate you. No problem. How about better than this? I quit. And I turned over the keys. I took my money and I bought a gourmet deli in Stony Brook, Long Island, New York, right by Stony Brook University. And I was off and running from that point there. So, again, not to get into all of that, but to show you that the glamorous life and the fact of making money, they call me an earner. And I knew how to earn, figuring that all by myself. And that started my career off and running. I took that career into my gourmet deli, into my first nightclub called Bogey's Supper Club in a place called Levittown, New York. Actually, right down from Hofstra University, I had one of the largest nightclubs across from a place called Uncle Sam's. Well, my place was a place for wise guys. They'd all come out from the city. They'd come out to my joint, and that was it, off and running. I mean, it was the early part of my career.
So in the early part of your career, what other ways did you earn?
Okay. Well, then I learned about loan sharking. Very simple.
Who taught you?
Guys that were coming into my club. Knock-around guys, as we would call them. Not even made members of families. Associates. Top associates. Right? You know, Ange, guy wants to borrow $1,000. You charge him 3 points a week. Oh, okay. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? Well, 3 points a week is $30. Right? But he never pays off the $1,000 that you lent him. He just keeps paying you $30. Now, he could knock it down by saying, here's $500, let's knock down my $1,000.
Right.
I only have to pay you $15.
Right.
And now you take that and you say, well, if it works on that, how about $10,000? Now that's $300 a week. You take all that interest, you put it again, you put it back out on the street again. And it just keeps turning over, turning over, turning over. You make a nice living. Now you would say to me, or you should say to me, well, what happens to a person that decides to run away and not pay?
Well, that was my next question.
Of course, I can tell it in your face. That's everybody's next question. So, either you're going to go after him, you're going to try to talk to him, or you're only going to lend, like I did, to businessmen that had a cash register. The electrician, the plumber, they couldn't come to me. They went to other guys. I'm not interested. I wanted the delicatessen owner, the nightclub owner. I wanted the guy in a garment center.
And those people wanted loans.
Absolutely. Can't go to banks. Absolutely. There's no way they can go to banks. Many reasons. Credit lines are all used up. Their personal credit isn't efficient for them to borrow money. Go to the streets. So in my case, I'd only go to people that were businessmen.
Were those business people in your mind desperate enough to ask you for a loan? Because you said there were up and up places that they couldn't go get a loan. If you're going to go get a loan from the streets own you.
100%. And that's how I got into my first business in a garment center. Guy just couldn't pay anymore. And I said, well, no problem at all. I'm your partner. We're going to turn this around. And that's how simple it is. And you're absolutely right.
And you were good with that. Matter of fact, sounds like you would rather have that.
I'd rather have the business.
Right.
Let me go ahead and do what I do best. Let me build the business. Let me turn around and use my business skills that I went to school for. I read and learned. Let me use them here, see if I can improve what you couldn't do. And that's just one big vicious cycle. So if you're listening to the dates carefully, I'm now into 1978 when Dad passes away.
Right. By that time.
By
the time your pop passed away, you're running numbers and you're loan sharking.
Absolutely.
What else?
Well,
by the time
I decide to step it up.
Okay, so by the time Dad dies, you're adding to your portfolio.
Absolutely.
So what's the next thing?
Next one was barra bonds. Paid to the barra on demand. Barra bonds were very big in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You get a barra bond. Let's just say $1,000 for each bond. And on the bottom of the bond is coupons. And you cut them and you collect your interest every 30 days. What could we do with these? Well, I go into a bank one day and I speak to a friendly banker. And I can get into that later on, what I mean by a friendly banker. He tells me, look, Ange, if you came in here with $100,000 worth of barrel bonds, we can give you a loan on that. You can go open up your business, do what you want to do. Okay. Well, over a course of time, I learned that these barrel bonds were gold for a guy like me. So what did I do? I decided to buy them black market, stolen ones, bring them into my banker. At those days, we didn't have computers. They weren't checking the registration numbers. All they know is barrel bond is good, coupons are on the bottom, they put them into their safe, and they give you the loan based upon the collateral you have in their safe. Now, the whole idea is not to burn them on it, because that's only a one-time score.
Right.
Let's borrow on it. Let's build a business. Let's sell the business, turn it over, and let's go buy back our barrel bonds, even though we know they're no good, because we know they're stolen. But we already accomplished what our goal was, to get the money to go ahead and to do that. When we finally get into DFJ Italia later on in this podcast, you'll see that it was the same premise. And you're going to see a similarity of taking money from somebody else, paying off the other people, and investing the money to make money. Now, you can go in, good example, and I don't want to jump on you because there's so much here. Bernie Madoff knew exactly what he was doing, 27 years running a Ponzi scheme. Why? Because he made some good investments. He knew what he was doing. Okay, he didn't go in to take the money down and run away to a foreign country. That wasn't his concern. He had 700 people working for him. He had over 3 stories in Manhattan. And then on the third floor, where he wouldn't let nobody go, that was the Ponzi scheme one, where he was bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars with phony paperwork, phony everything. So the whole idea is take the money, let it work for you, and make money with it. Unfortunately, people in organized crime, they don't think like that. Let's go in, let's take the money down, hurry up, let's make our money, let's go to Atlantic City, let's go to Vegas, let's go to Europe, let's buy some Cadillacs, let's do what we have to do. 6 months later, you're out of money. And you're doing the same thing again and again. But if you can go out and make money and earn money with it, you could stay open for the 5-6 years like DFJ Italia did. And if it wasn't for one of the people involved, which we'll get into later on, we probably could have been in business to this day. Because you just go out and do the right thing with the money. But at the end of the day, sometime you're not going to have the funds to pay off all the investors, excuse me, and you're going to run out of money. And of course, the house of cards collapse.
So you've got this portfolio of under the table income. At some point, that's going to catch up to you.
Absolutely.
When is the first time you got in trouble and got sent to prison?
1980. The bearer bonds or securities we were dealing with in Wall Street, we got caught on one of the batch that we had. And we were charged with security fraud. So in 1980, I was sent to Lewisburg Penitentiary, right, to start my sentence.
What was your sentence?
6 years. But in those days, you got out at a third. Wasn't like today at 85%. So, you knew you were going to go in. You would do a third of the 6, maybe 20 some odd months, 27, 28 months, and you would be out.
So 2 years after your dad dies,
yes,
you're locked up.
Absolutely.
During the time that you were engaged in this illegal activity, did you ever have any thoughts of remorse, guilt, because you looked up to your dad. Your dad was a straight-laced guy.
I idolized him.
What were your thoughts when you were engaged in these illegal activities from a personal standpoint, from a moral standpoint? Were there any moral thoughts at all?
Absolutely none.
Zero.
And that's the problem. That is a major problem as an elder statesman today, looking back. All you're concerned about is, look at your family. You have no mortgage on your house at 30 years old. Your wife is driving that brand new Corvette. You paid for it in cash. You're driving your Cadillac. Everybody's wearing bling all day long. And your other friends from high school, because you're only 10 years removed, or 12 years removed from college and high school, they're struggling to make a living. And you're over here taking everybody out to eat. You're enjoying it. Taking everybody on vacations. Family, friends, whatever. The enjoyment that came from it, because I'm a giver, at the end of the day, superseded anything that I could think of on a moral aspect. Did I have regrets? Well, like Sinatra's song says, few. Then again, too few to mention.
But not at the moment at all.
At zero. All part of life. All part of who you were.
So was prison baked into that way of life? I mean, what you're doing is illegal. I would imagine that you were intelligent enough to know that, if I get popped doing this, that, and the third, I could catch a case for X amount of years. See, the reason why I asked you that is because I used to hustle a little bit myself, right? Nothing to the extent that you were doing. But when I was in grad school, I was selling weed. I wasn't selling weed for the bling. I was selling weed to pay SDG&E and to pay my tuition at school. I'm not trying to justify what I did, but I'm saying I knew that was a misdemeanor. If I kept all the weed in one bag and didn't baggie it up and someone came into my house, I knew that, all right, that's possession. If I have it baggied up, that's intent to sell. That's a felony. So I made sure that what I did was on the misdemeanor level as opposed to the felony level. you knew that what you were doing was a felony, and you didn't care.
From the get-go.
Didn't care.
Didn't give one hoot about it. It came with the territory. A matter of fact, I'll give you a little story about Lewisburg. Being in the big house in the penitentiary, they move us out to the camp, which was a joke. Here I am, the captain of the baseball team out there at the camp, enjoying myself immensely. The wife coming up with my son Anthony, let him rest in peace, coming up, every week for a visit. And what happens to me out there? Well, it started inside the big house, and then they moved us out to the camp.
Why'd they move you?
Good behavior. That's how the system worked. They knew you were a white-collar criminal. You don't belong in the penitentiary. So they move you out to the camp on the outside. Who goes along with you? Bank robbers, spies. I was with a Russian spy for years. But what I'm reading to you is that I get out to the camp and I meet a gentleman by the name of William James McLean Jr., big bank robber out of Baltimore, Maryland. Happens to be African-American. We hit it off. We become best friends. We become brothers. On Saturday mornings, I'm going in and watching Soul Train, dancing with them in the room, right? To cool in the gang.
You trying to tell me you all had the Soul Train line working in the camp?
Absolutely. You got it. 100%. Now, could you imagine the static I got from the Italian guys?
I was going to get to that. So Kenny, our friend, Ken Cusway, shared the difference between being in a penitentiary and a camp. Would you have ever been able to become best friends with a black guy in a penitentiary?
Absolutely.
Because of what?
Because no one was able to tell me anything because my uncle was the boss of a family. What are you going to tell me?
And everybody knew it.
And they knew it. I wasn't made at the time. So I laugh. What are you going to do? Wait.
But your average white guy
can't do it. Cannot do it. He's got to, that's a shame about our prison system, even to this day. Young white boys go in, guaranteed the Aryan brothers are going to pick them up, or DWBs, dirty white boys. They're going to grab them. Italian guys come in, they're waiting for us. They got a package for us. They gave us our commissary, whatever we got to do to get started. The young African-American comes in, who's waiting for him? The Imam. You're going to become Muslim, right? Assalamu alaikum. Simple as that. So they become territorial and groups.
Segregated.
Segregated in your own groups. And if the Italian guys are doing business, who are we doing business with? Well, let's do it with the Muslims. They're more like us. They're more stand up. We're not going to go to the Aryan brothers. We stay away from them because they're dangerous. They're as dangerous as white on rice. And the Hispanics, well, they're speaking their own language. They're Paises, they're Sereños, Norteños, Border Brothers, whole different world. But I take a liking to a gentleman by the name of, his street name was Toast. He was a phenomenal singer. Could have been whatever he wanted to be in the music world. We did come out together and open up a record company called Charm City Records. But I got so much static until a very big episode happened. And I'll tell you about my Italian friends. We had telephone booths in the camp. It was pretty cool. You get in the booth and you make your call to your loved ones. Well, an Italian gentleman, who I'll leave nameless at this time, was in the booth and he's on the phone with his sick mother. And he was a captain in a particular family. He opens up the door and he starts yelling at the black guys, calling them names, telling them, I'm on the phone with my mother. She's got a disease. I can't hear her. She can't hear me. Shut your effing mouths. Blah, 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 blah. Well, the guys from the penitentiary, they're now at the camp. They're looking at him like, huh? At the end of the day, my boy Toast comes up to me and he says, I'm going to kill you, guy, right? I says, Toast, why? He can't disrespect us. We have a reputation. He could have told us, be quiet. But no, he cursed and yelled and he said some racial slurs. I said, look, we have a friendship going. Why do we want to mess up a camp like this and go back to the penitentiary? Why don't you let me talk to him? He said, all right, Ange, I'm going to let you do it. I went back and I talked to him and I says, look, what you did was wrong. They're all strapped up. They're ready to get you in the yard. What do you want to do? No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm under stress with my mom. But you said some things that were mean and nasty. You know better. You're an elder statesman. You're 12 years older than me. You already got your button. What are you doing? Henceforth, he went to commissary and he brought, 2 tremendous size grocery bags full of goodies. And I put them together. He went in, make a long story short, he brought them in. Everybody hugged and kissed. That was the end of the story. But the moral is what? You were one of the guys yelling at me for dancing to get down on it by Kool and the Gang with my good brothers.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, you'd be dead.
But if it wasn't for that, where would you be today?
Right.
So, why don't you save the bullshit for somebody else? Excuse the expression, but that's where it's at. Yeah. To this day, I just got back from New York about a month ago, and I visited my dear friend 46 years later. And he's on his deathbed. He has Alzheimer's. And he just looked at me, and for 2 hours, I sat there with him with tears in my eyes, saying, wow, the last of the Mohegans, because we've been through a lot, Tim and I. And his brother was there, who was the imam in the penitentiary, and his cousin was there who did time with us for murder. And we're all sitting there, and they said, up until last week, the only person he was asking for was you, Kathy, your son Antonio. He didn't recognize nobody else. But unfortunately, when I got there, he's at the end of his career, and I got pictures to show you of who he is and what he is and how he looks. And it's sad, but we have a 46-year history of an African-American and an Italian guy bonding as brothers.
Is that extremely rare in the mafia?
Absolutely. They're as racist as you could believe. My own mother, God rest her soul, just died last year from COVID. Good as gold. My son Anthony, let him rest in peace. He passed away from an overdose. As a matter of fact, his anniversary was Saturday, 17 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear.
At 28 years old. He would always tease Grandma and say, hey, you're not going to believe this, huh? You got to see my new girlfriend. Oh, my God, she's light-skinned and all, and she comes from the islands. And my mother would say, wait. What is she? Well, I guess I'm going to say she's a black young lady, but she's beautiful. Oh, my God, no, you can't do anything like that. And my son would just tease her that there's no tomorrow. Grandma, I love her. It doesn't matter what you or anybody else says. Dad condones it. Well, your dad is crazy. My son says to my mother. But yet, his friend Toast called you mom. You hug and kiss. You cook for them and clean for them when they come to visit. But I can't date an African-American girl?
She had nothing to say.
She had nothing to say. My young son put her right in her place. Again, moral of the story. I don't understand Italian people. They just are prejudiced people. And they won't do it outwardly. It's always inwardly. Okay? Because outwardly they, hey, how you doing? How you feel? How's everything, my good brother? But I know how they think. Can't do business with them. I guess the story that would relate to that would be what Joey Gallo did when he went ahead and had the hit on Joe Colombo. Joey Gallo had a black crew. All against organized crime. If you're not full-blooded Italian and you don't have heritage that goes back, you ain't tying nobody into your crew that's not like you. He did. The Gallo brothers did. Henceforth, what everybody seems to forget is the guy that shot Joe Colombo at the rally, right at the Italian-American rally, was a black guy. And then what did the Italian guys do when he shot Joe Colombo? They had 2 other hitmen out there to kill the black guy. Okay? So, of course, the crime was never solved. Yet they know the hit came from Joey Gallo. So, I mean, it's a history of my own kind just can't be honest. They just can't be forthcoming. And that's why it's a tough organization. And that's why today it's falling apart.
Let me ask you something. Let me go back real quick, and then we'll go on to after you got out of the penitentiary, your first time in. The guy who was on the phone cussing out the black guys, you said he had his button. What did you mean by that?
Well, he was a made member.
So what's the button?
We call them button guys, made guys, good fellas. You probably heard all the expressions.
Yeah.
Wise guys. You've seen it all on TV. From the Donnie Brasco story to Goodfellas to The Godfather.
I never heard of button, though. That's why
you never heard that one?
No, never heard of it.
Oh, yeah, button guy. It's just, like you got a button, you pin it on you, that's what you are. That was the first early expressions, what they would call them. Hey, he's a button guy. So people, they always hear the ones that are thrown around on TV.
Right.
Made guy.
Right.
Wise guy. Good fella. But the first expression was, well, let me take you back way before that. They were called mustache Pete's. That's why if you notice Italian guys, we're not supposed to have facial hair at all. Because the mustache Pete's would walk around with their big mustaches that they would wax up, and you knew that guy was somebody. Because the only guys that did that were the Italian guys that wore mustache Pete's. They were made guys. They belonged to the organization. So, Charlie Luciani said, no more facial hair. That's it. We're not out there to send signals.
Right.
We're not out there to turn around and tell people who we are. We're a secret society. So, really, to this day, if you're in there doing your thing, you have no facial hair at all.
Thank you for that. So you get out.
Get out.
You've met a lot of people.
Met a lot of people.
What's next?
Well, of course, the gentleman that was on the phone, that again I said I will leave nameless at this time.
Right.
Right. I hook up with him, and we go into the garment center. And sure enough, my PO finds out that I'm in New York in the garment center.
And you shouldn't have been there.
And I shouldn't have been there. And on parole, you can't be with a convicted felon. So what happens? I get violated. 1986.
So that's number two.
Number two, get violated. So I go in, I do my time at a camp called Loretta, which was an old monastery for priests. Once again, nothing but a good time.
So let me ask you something. I want to just, you got me thinking. Were most of your prison stays at camps?
No.
Okay.
That was the last camp I was in.
All right, so let's get there. Let's get there.
Let's get there.
So you're at camp number 2, and
camp number 2.
This is bid number 2.
Bid number 2.
Okay.
But bid number 3 in 1990 for credit card fraud, because I was making moldoons. That's what we called them. I was making credit cards. I had an embossing machine. I had blanks. So I got charged with credit card fraud, securities fraud, conspiracy to defraud. And they said, no, you ain't going to no camp.
After being locked up twice.
Right.
Right.
So on the third one, they send me to FCI McKean in Bradford, Pennsylvania. It was called a level 3, double fences, patrol cars on the outside. Not quite a penitentiary, but penitentiary mentality inside there. But outside there was a satellite camp. But I wasn't going to get to it. My days in a satellite camp came to an end. And that's what would segue us into DFJ Italia when the time comes, of course, in this podcast. And that's where I met the infamous Luigi D'Afonso.
So you met Luigi in bid number 3?
Bid number 3.
Okay. All right.
So we segued right into it.
Talk to me.
Okay. Here we go.
You're in the penitentiary. You're not in the camp at bid number 3.
Right. Bid number 3 I'm at, it's called a level 3, double fence, not a penitentiary.
But not a camp either.
But not a camp.
Okay.
So there's controlled movement. You can only move. See, in a camp, you can do whatever you want.
Mid-level?
Mid-level.
Okay.
Mid-level. You got level 1, level 3, level 6. And then you get some in between. Well, level 1, of course, is the camp. Level 3 is, right, where I was on bit number 3. And then level 6 is penitentiaries.
Okay.
Okay. So when you get there, everybody says, oh, Italian guy from New York, how you doing? Hey, there's some guys from New England here. Oh, who is it? He's supposed to be a writer of some sort. Name is Luigi D'Afonso. Oh, okay. Hey,
why'd they want to introduce you to him?
Italian guys to Italian guys.
Got it.
It's just simple as that.
Got it.
It's like if a good brother comes in, let's introduce him to the imam. see if he's interested in becoming Muslim. It's the
Got it.
same routine. Nothing changes.
Right.
Nothing in the prison system changes. It is constant. Okay? So there he is. And I meet this man. And of course, in the first few days, everybody's always discussing, gee, what'd you do to get here? Now, you don't do it in open public. You do it in the privacy of a cell, of a room. And he says to me, I'm here for congressional contempt. Oh, wow. What's that? He says, well, I would not testify in front of Congress on a book I wrote called Box. Well, I found that intriguing. My goodness gracious. A renowned writer. He wrote the book St. Peter's Banker. I remember seeing it on 60 Minutes. And I'm like, wow. And you wrote books too? Get in, get it all, get out? Yeah. Wow. Why did Congress want you? Oh, they wanted to know how I did it. I fell for it. But over the course of time, something didn't gel. I think it's time to call one of my contacts,
And get some intel on this guy.
a paid FBI agent. I call. Hey, it's me.
Stop.
Yes, sir.
The person that you called to check up on Luigi was a paid FBI agent.
Guy that we're moving money under the table to.
All right, so he's on the payroll.
He's on the payroll. You could ask Whitey Berger about that. You know,
Right.
what he did, same theory. Well, I had one.
So you called this guy and asked him to get information.
Give me the
for you
background check on this
Luigi.
guy.
Okay.
How did I call? We can't call on a phone from the prison because they're all monitored.
How'd you call?
Well, I was the head orderly. So when I went into my case manager and unit manager's office, I knew if you dialed 973, you got an outside line that was untraceable because I used to watch them when they did it, when I would clean up their desks and all, and that's how I made the call. Right? So now I'm on an unsecure line. I know I got plenty of time. They know Angelo's here cleaning up, making our room look so nice, keeping our office beautiful. And there I am on the phone making phone calls, right? So I find out, hey, well, give me some intel on this guy. Who's this Stefanzo guy? Call us back in a week. Okay, no problem. I call back in a week later. What do I find out? He's there for taking $8 million from a woman in Minnesota. He scammed her on a Ponzi scheme. And it's the second time he's been in. He was in before on securities fraud. And he beat the great Purolator robbery in Chicago of the armored trucks. He planned it. And he's the only guy that beat it. Okay, we're going to have some fun. So we have one of our nightly meetings, sitting in a cells. Something came up about being patriotic. And I used the term that I shouldn't have used. I said, Luigi, maybe you're just not as patriotic as I am. I said, I'm very patriotic. I commit a crime, but I love my country. I would never do anything to hurt my country, go against my country, any way, any shape, any form. You said what? You no good so-and-so, I'm not patriotic. And he storms out of the cell. As he's walking down the hallway, and I can picture it to this day, I say, hey, excuse me, tell me about Purolator in Minnesota. He turned around, faster than you could imagine, walked back into the cell. Get in here, I got to talk to you.
Oh, now he wants to talk.
Now he wants to talk. Wait a second. Wait. What do you mean? What do you mean? What did I say wrong? I said the great Purolator robbery. I said, and a lady in Minnesota. How could you know this? I said, doesn't matter how I know it. All right, we got to talk. We got to talk. Are you a paid informant? Meaning me. No, not at all. Why? Oh. Well, that's the only way you can find out this information. Everything's sealed. Sealed to who? Sealed in your mind. Not sealed in the contacts I got. Well, I got a guy by the name of Art Donlin. He's the head of customs, and I was working with him, and he just spilled his guts, right? I was moving the money offshore with Purolator, and I was hiding it in the Cayman Islands. At the end of the day, I liked the guy. He was a very impressive figure. 6 foot, 260 pounds. maybe one of the toughest human beings I ever met. Didn't care about turning around, going to hand-to-hand combat with anybody. Ex-fighter, ex-boxer. The hell with it. And we became friends. Talked about the movie business, what kind of future when we can get out. You know, we're going to be together for life.
So you liked this guy.
Yeah.
And was planning on doing things with this guy, despite the fact that he lied to your face.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I exposed him. And I was hoping that from that point on, he would understand that my contacts and my resources might be equal to yours, if not better.
So you thought that because you established the fact that you had access to information that he wasn't going to lie to you again?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
But it turned out to be false. A liar is a liar is a liar. As the story will go on and you'll ask other questions, you'll see that we were fooled like anybody else. Okay? Because a man that's a liar is a liar. If he's not going to be honest with you, and then he pretends to be, and he has this gene that I call a bad gene. If a person's a liar, they're a liar from beginning to end.
But didn't you have to lie to do the work that you were doing?
Absolutely. But who did I lie to? Not to my partners, not to my friends. Lied to the banker. Lied to the guy, law enforcement.
Bottom line is you could relate to the lies. They were different lies, but they're still freaking lies.
I'm going to give you a yes on that.
Okay. All right. So I'm asking you this because this is bid 3. You've connected with Luigi. You've established yourself as an earner. Where are you at as it relates to organized crime and the mafia?
Well, at that point, I was already a made member.
What did you do that got you to the point where you were made? And I'm assuming that you wanted to be a made member.
Of course.
So why did you want to be made, and what did you have to do to become a made guy in the mafia?
Well, I went from the top associate to a proposed member. Okay? Now, people have this fantasy that you have to kill somebody to become a made member. And if I take you back 100 years ago, that was true.
Right.
You had to kill a federale. You had to kill somebody in government. You had to do something. Why? So they had something on you. That's why the whole idea of this thing about having to kill somebody. But with the modern day mafia, organized crime, it's earning power. See? They finally put it together. Without the money, you're not doing anything. You're not moving mountains. So if this guy never killed anybody, but he was a big earner, no problem at all. We want him. He's with us.
But they still got something on you. It's just not murder.
But it's not murder.
Right.
Exactly. You know, there's a gentleman, you know, and I guess I could say we have to be careful on how we name names and what we say. So we won't name the name, but we'll say this. There is a car dealer, I should say a owner of dealerships, only about 60 dealerships throughout the Eastern Seaboard. And this gentleman is a captain in the Bonanno Crime Family to this day. Never did a day in jail. Never put a gun in his hand. Never, matter of fact, to my knowledge, possibly other than money laundering, I don't think he ever committed a crime. He didn't have to. But what did he do? He supplied cars to the Bonanno Crime Family. If anybody couldn't get a car, he gave it to them. Now we're talking about a man that's got 60 dealerships, Toyotas and Nissans and Mitsubishis from New York to Florida. He would be a big-time earner. So if you're the boss of the family, you don't want anybody to bother this guy. And you don't want this guy involved in a murder because you don't want him going to jail. Right. You want him to run that business because we're going to launder hundreds of millions of dollars through you over the course of time. So that's the difference of how it started and where it is today. And in that case, you go from the do's and the don'ts of organized crime to guys that earn.
So you became a made member due to earning. You didn't have to kill anybody.
Didn't have to kill nobody.
And never did.
Didn't have to kill anybody.
All right.
Because remember one thing, sir. In all due respect to the podcast, there are statute of limitations on everything except for murder and kidnapping. So, you know, You could do something in 1970, 1978, 1982.
1920.
How about this one? Thank you. The year my father was born. In 1920, and you get nabbed, you're going. Simple as that. You're gone. Now, you know, there's a certain amount of time you get. You would say, well, wait a second. Murder to who? Let's say you murdered somebody in the organization. I can show you 20 guys that got what they call a global plea bargain in 2004. They all got 10 years across the board. And they were involved in loan sharking and murder, and the government wants to settle.
Right.
How about we do Sammy the Bull? I was away with Sammy. How about this? Sammy had 19 murders that he had to confess to when he was testing against John Gotti. Well, the government didn't know. But the government is powerful. They give you immunity. They give you immunity. You got to talk about everything, even the murders. So, you know, if you ask the average guy in organized crime, did he do, I think you'd have to be a fool to answer.
Right.
All right? Because it's always there. And it could be that your participants, they're all dead and buried. Remember, I'm not a youngster at 72. So guys that I, you know, were doing things with, they're either in their 90s, they're either dead, or incarcerated for life, or in the witness protection program. You know, one or the other. So, you know, there's certain things you just don't talk about.
Got it. So you get out after bid number 3. You're hooked up with Luigi.
Absolutely.
What happens next?
I'd like to back you up.
Let's do it.
1 year on the end of my incarceration with Luigi.
Okay.
And I'm doing this for our dear friend Ken Cusway, because he asked me to tell you this today.
I want to hear it.
Okay. I am called over to a cell by a captain in an unrelated family. And he says, hey, Ange, I want to talk to Luigi. I says, yeah, but you know he's with us, right? You know, I already called up Mike and Sigliere and told them DeFonzo's with us. Yeah, that's okay. Bring him over. Okay. Figured it's something to do with the yard. You know, who knows? Right? I brought Luigi over. You have to picture this scene. 5'6", 155 pounds, is the captain in another family. Luigi, 6 foot plus, 260 pounds, weightlifter, tough as nails. So the little guy is looking up at the big guy. And he says, you know, some of the things you've done on this yard are not correct. Luigi trying to keep that stern face. Doesn't even ask what he did. And the little guy has 2 of his henchmen outside the door of a cell. I'm in there with him. And he's looking up at Luigi. And I mean looking up at him. All of a sudden, he slaps him silly. Boom, boom.
Slaps Luigi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right and left. Boom, boom. Open hand. Knocks off his glasses. I'm like, yo, sir, you can't do that. He's with us. What are you, crazy? Please, Angelo. Please. Just stay out of this. This is going to go from my consigliere to your consigliere. This guy did something to embarrass us. No respito. Don't ask no questions. Told to leave it alone. Months went by, and I couldn't figure out. Luigi wasn't like me. I was taking book. I was the bookmaker on there, taking the football bets. You know, in those days, we were able to get change from the commissary. We were allowed to roll quarters, or roll dimes, and roll nickels every week, $17, because you had vending machines. So it's easy to gamble, right? You just, you know, go there, do football tickets, guys pay you in cash. Months went by, and like everything else, there's no secrets in the joint. Things are going to come out. So a little bird comes up to me one day and says, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I said, sure. It's like 3 or 4 months later. He says, remember that scene where Luigi got slapped around? Yeah. Do you know why? No, it's none of my business. They told me stay out of it. It's, you know. Well, I got to tell you. Why? I'm getting out in 2 days. I want you to know, because you hang around with that guy. Okay, what is it? You know the big African-American guy named Drew? Yeah. They were in the restroom? Yeah. And Luigi begged him to be the catcher, and he was the pitcher, and, take his big wee-wee and put it up his ass. No. Ange, I don't lie. You know I don't lie. I'm telling you. And it came out that he embarrassed all the Italian guys by being like that. I kept that to myself for years, and I mean years. Because if you speak to Ken, he'll tell you he heard about this from me in 2020, not in 2000 or 99 or 98 when we were rocking and rolling. And why did he hear it from me? Because there was an incident in his mansion in Laguna Niguel. His maid was cleaning the room, and she went into the closet, and she was straightening out Luigi and Brenda's closet, and she heard them coming up, and she was embarrassed because she didn't speak English, really, to walk out. But she was peeking through the door. Well, she sees Brenda strap on a dildo, all right, and go to work on Luigi, and now she understood where all the blood was coming from that she would find on the sheets. She thought maybe Brenda was having a period or something like that, but now she figured it out. Well, she was scared shitless. So she goes to one of the guys that's with us and explains to him in Spanish what went on. Once again, I never said a word. I just kept it under my hat. But for the sake of our book rights coming up, or movie, or podcast, I let it out, and I told Ken Cusway. Ken says, oh my God, now it makes sense. He was like that, yeah. His first wife, his second wife, his third wife, right? If they didn't strap it on and stick it up his hiney, right, nothing was going to go down good. So with that, knowing that information, I wasn't really turned off.
So you knew this before you got out with Luigi?
Absolutely.
So Luigi's a liar, and he engages in what you would consider alternative lifestyles.
Alternative lifestyles.
And that neither one of those things prevented you from moving forward and wanting to do business with him.
No, because we're back to the same sentence I told you an hour ago, where greed supersedes all.
Okay.
Okay? I knew this man was a big earner.
And you can make money with this guy.
And we can make money with this guy.
So by the time you went in for the third time, you were already made.
Yes.
All right. So you get out your third bid. You're a made guy. You've met a lot of people, including Luigi. You know these things about Luigi. One thing that he knows you know, and the other thing he doesn't know that you know.
Absolutely.
What do you do moving forward with Luigi after your third bid?
1993, 94, I'm out. Luigi was out a year ahead of me. He says to me, Ange, I need you out here in California. He said, I got an opportunity second to none. Luigi, they're not going to let me travel. Simple as that. So the year of
parole violation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So 94 passed. Now we're into 95. I beg my PO, look, you don't want me in this lifestyle no more. You don't want me here and doing these things. I have an opportunity in California to get into the movie business and make movies. They give me permission to fly out to California. And here we go. DFJ Italia, Latin Film Group. And Luigi says to me, we're going to make money. And here's what we're going to do.
So how did he lay it out for you?
Well, the first thing is we had a company called Diatarelli Candy, came out of Rome. We were selling these candy lines all over the nation. And he wanted my contacts at Southland Corporation that I had because they were, obviously they sell big candy.
Right, and get the candy inside the
Sure, inside the stores. I got it. I did it. I got that. What people probably couldn't understand is where's the first place we sold the candy? It was in Utah because that is the largest seller of candy in the nation.
Utah?
Yeah. Why? But wait, I can't ask you why because you're asking me questions.
No, you can ask me anything.
So I'm going to answer it for you.
Go ahead.
Because you're never going to get it. Mormons aren't allowed caffeine. Mormons don't do drugs. Mormons don't drink alcohol. Well, what do they get? What do they do? They buy candy.
Well, I would have guessed something that
probably
has
would.
to do with
The
listen,
sugar high.
Listen, I got a cousin who says we all have our vices.
Right.
We all have our vices. So if sugar was their only vice that they could do that people could see them do.
See them do.
I get it.
Largest state for the sale of candy
To this day.
Okay. Is in Utah. And that's the first place 7-Eleven gave us our orders. And we sold them. We did pretty good with that there.
So that was legitimate.
That was legitimate.
Okay.
Legitimate company, legitimate sale, nothing illegal.
Okay.
Then we go into the water softener business with Rain Soft.
And this is still DFJ.
Still DFJ Italia, still another part, right? And we go in there, and we basically almost muscled out a guy by the name of Mitch Cohen and took over his business. Even though he thought he was a partner, I know what time it was, especially with Luigi. And now we're doing the Rain Soft business. But that wasn't enough for him.
Was it enough for you?
No. So, of course, Luigi invites me to his house one day, and he says, hey, he lived in Oxnard Shores on the water. He says, explain to me this thing with the loan sharking and how was it all done? So I explained it to him. He says to me, well, what about if we tell an investor, if they put up $100,000, we'll pay them 2 points a month. He says, what does that come out to? I said, $2,000 a month, $24,000 in interest for the year. Wow. That would get a lot of people. They'd have to say, that's better than anything a bank would ever do. Well, of course. You're still under the usury laws. In those days, 25% or higher was usury.
Right.
So you
kept it under that.
You keep it at 2 points,
right,
which is 24%.
Right.
And you make $2,000. Well, his brain went to work. And he said, wow. And from that point on, DFJ Italia became an investment firm. And that's how Ken Cusway got brought in. And Guy Scarpelli and Tim Mano and Robert Winter.
So who was doing the sales, the outreach? You understand what I mean by that question?
Of course I know what you do.
Who was doing that?
Ken Cusway set it all up.
Kenny is a salesman.
Super salesman. You know that.
He is.
Super salesman.
He is.
And he brings in 4 other salesmen that are as good as him. All from, I believe, the Prudential Insurance Company. And, well, wait a second. Why would they leave such a good job? Because they would get 12% on top of the 24%. So if a person turned around and was getting 2 points on the money, there'd be another 12 points for the salesman every month from every investor.
Really?
Yeah.
12%.
So that means that's 36%.
12% per investor.
Per investor, plus the 24% you're paying. Well, how can you stay in business paying 36%?
Right.
You better bring in 50, 60, 70 million dollars like we did.
Right.
And that's how it all started. And Mr. Cusway came in. And of course, the way Mr. Cusway came in is a whole nother story for another day, because your audience wouldn't probably believe that, how he got brought in and who brought him there. Because now the story expands and it goes into branches and shoots off into different avenues. And, it just grew from that point there.
Who originally bankrolled DFJ?
Luigi.
So Luigi had the money to bankroll.
Yeah, didn't take much.
The water softener.
Yeah, it was about $40,000.
Okay.
He had a leftover from the money the government didn't get from him on the $8 million.
So you're making decent money on these other two things.
Absolutely.
Right? But how does Kenny and his other team of salesmen convince people to put big money into this small company that all of a sudden decides it wants to be an investment firm?
Nothing more than mirrors, house of cards.
Talk to me about some of the mirrors.
Okay. You have a contract, the Fininvest Fund. We are a $1 billion company, Royal Sicilian background. Luigi D'Afonso was a descendant of the king and queen of Sicily.
Oh, stop. Hold on.
Oh, whoa.
Wait.
Went too fast on that one.
No, but I'm saying if you know somebody who can get you information, I know somebody who can get me information too on. It's easy to check up on a person if you know the right people.
But what about if greed on your part was there?
Look, enough greed so that I'm not going to do my due diligence on this person.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'll give you the best story. I'll give you the easiest comparison that I've always said that I laughed my ass off. My ex-mother-in-law who passed away, she had her own organized crime background in her family, but that was neither here nor there. Legitimate person. She goes into Macy's. She wants to buy a mink coat. Macy's is selling the mink coat for $2,500. She comes home and she says, son-in-law, that Macy's is a ripoff. Don't buy my daughter anything from Macy's. They want $2,000, $2,500, right, for a mink coat. I said, well, Mom, that seems reasonable.
Right.
But yet, I have Mario show up with his car, open up the trunk of his car, and there's 20 mink coats that he got from Macy's for $2,500. He tells her, listen, this is a deal of a lifetime. These are $4,000. You can have anyone you want for $4,000. They go for 10, 12, 14,000, 15,000. She buys it.
She'll buy something that's double the price.
Because they think it's swag. Because it's what everybody sees in life. Right? They turn around and say, well, I'll buy it. Oh my God, it's swag, it's stolen. It's got to be a great deal. Why? Because greed.
Typically, I've done this, but typically I'll buy something out of the back of your car if it's less expensive, not more expensive.
Not more, but you didn't do your due diligence, did you? You just saw the mink coats in the back of the car. Different color, different style, different this, different that. And why would Mario come over and open up the trunk of his car and tell him they just heisted a whole truck full of minks? Gotta be a great deal. Have no time to do due diligence. Go in the house, go into your little safe, pull out the $4,000, give it to him, and he's laughing his way all the way to the bank. Once again, the greed factor. And that's the same thing at DFJ.
So did Kenny and his people target people that they knew were not going to be able to resist this deal of a lifetime?
Absolutely, positively, 100%, 24/7, every day.
So Kenny knows a mark when he sees one.
Of course. They got disgusted. I'm turning around, I'm getting interest, and I'm getting charged from the government, and I got to report my interest. Now DFJ Italia says, we could do it the right way if you want. Give you a check every month, and you report it. And we'll give you a 1099. Or we could pay you cash every month.
Another question. Did Kenny believe that they were going to get their two points every month?
Absolutely.
So he thought it was legitimate?
Absolutely.
Okay, I need to establish that.
100%.
All right.
He thought the Royal Sicilian family was everything it was supposed to be. 1995, 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999.
Did you believe that?
No, I knew what time it was.
Okay.
But I got disgusted with Luigi. Why are we doing this? We got legitimate businesses going, making so much money. We're making a good living. You know, if you're making $20,000 a month back in the 90s, nothing wrong with that. Well, why? And I got completely disgusted with him because we weren't supposed to go from legal to illegal. And that became illegal because of his brainstorm, his 160 IQ. We're supposed to make movies. We're making movies.
But I also remember what you just said about an hour ago about your DNA. So you got disgusted with Luigi, like, we're doing something, it's working, it's legitimate, and now you want to do this other thing that's illegal. And you said to yourself, let's run with it. Let's go for it.
Because he would give me $15,000 a month to keep my mouth shut.
So Luigi's paying you $15K a month to go with the mirrors of him being this
royal family guy, right? Who can invest the Finavest fund.
The Prince of Zamunda.
Prince of Zamunda, right? And just be left alone and don't tip anybody off and go about your business. Have fun, Go out with those models you're going out with. Go out with the girls from Baywatch, you know. Hang around down in Beverly Hills. Do your thing. Just stay out of the way.
No guilt for you.
0.
Okay. So people are starting to invest and expecting their 2 points.
They got it.
Every month. They're getting it.
Oh, yeah.
Right, they're getting it.
You know how many people made money and got out, said, I'm done with the year.
So talk to me about some of the people who invested, some of the people who some of our viewers might know. And then what did you do with some of this money as it relates to how you got involved with sports?
Well, how about Deval Love, football player, Pittsburgh Steelers, LA Rams? How about Johnny McWilliams, tight end for the Arizona Cardinals?
He invested.
Absolutely. Jake the Snake Plummer, the quarterback for the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
How about Eric Dickerson? Local gangbanger. Tough guy from L.A.
Was ED banging before he went to the
Absolutely,
NFL?
100%.
I had no idea.
Man, Eric, let me tell you, because he's the one that blew the whole thing open on DFJ at the end. He threatened everybody.
Because he didn't get his money back.
He didn't get his money back. Him, Johnny McWilliams.
Who else?
All right. Okay, Ron Duguay, hockey player.
I remember Ron Duguay.
Ron Duguay from the Rangers.
Yeah.
And his model wife, Kim Alexis, invested big money, right? Wayne Newton, my dear friend, even though I told him not to. Wayne did it.
You told
him not to.
You told him not to.
I said, just sing Duncan Chain to me and I'll be happy.
You didn't tell him why. You just said, don't do this.
Don't do it. Right? He says, nah, but boy. He said, nah, come on. He says, I got $1 million to play with. $1 million. So they delivered him $20,000 a month. You know? I mean, it's like, how about the president of the Hells Angels? But he got his money back.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
At the end, he came to me. He said, I want my money back. I'll get it for you. His investment wasn't big to start with.
So you're getting all of this money from different people, including people who are famous. They're entertainers. They're in sports. I read about how boxers had DFJ Italia on their trunks.
Oh, that's another one. Oh, my Lord.
Talk to me who you were sponsoring.
Okay. Fernando Vargas, Robert Garcia, Miguel Angel Gonzalez, Francois Botha, the White Buffalo, right? Yoel Casimir out of Cuba.
My memory is fuzzy. When Botha fought Tyson, was he wearing DFJ Italia?
Absolutely. And let me tell you.
Go look that up, people.
Yeah.
Google that. Google that fight.
How about this one is the best? Here is Lampley.
Jim Lampley.
HBO. Asking a question on one of the fights. I think it was the Yoel Casimir fight. What's his DFJ Italia? On the shorts. Nobody knew.
He asked this during an interview. Live.
And he asked it to somebody and it was like, well, who is this? And somebody says it's an investment firm. And they let it go with that. Nobody did their due diligence. Nobody. They just saw DFJ Italia on the shorts and they asked the question. You know, investment firm. Okay. Happen all the time. Remember, that's the time of the .com companies. So there was a lot of money.
Right before 2000 and then the .com.
And then the .com
burst. Yeah, the bubble burst.
So before that, they just thought we were just one of those companies and that's where it was at. Right? Michael Buffer. Let's get ready to rumble. Right?
What about him?
That bastard.
Tell me.
That's the funniest story in the world. I'm going out with Rosie Lopez. Right?
What do you mean you're going out with her?
Dating her for years.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Play it.
And he's hitting on her.
Okay.
And I go up to him. I say, hey, yo, come here. I said, isn't your catchphrase, let's get ready to rumble? What about if I say to you, let's stick a pistol up your ass and take your Playboy shit because you got a gorgeous wife. I don't know why you want to hit on all these girls, right? And know who you're fucking with because you're making a very big mistake here. He just looked at me. I said, so why don't you go back in the ring, get ready to say, let's get ready to rumble, and leave the girls from DFJ Italia alone. There's about 7 of them. Leave them all alone.
Let me ask you this. At this point, as it relates to where you're at in the mafia, what had you ascended to by the time you got involved with DFJ Italia? What was your position?
Just a regular maid guy.
Okay.
Just a button guy.
Okay.
I told you. That's it.
I just wanted to ask
Yeah,
that
nothing.
question.
I never rose up any further. I wasn't interested.
All right, so you guys are bringing in money for this investment firm, right? And you're paying as many people as you can their 2 points.
Absolutely.
And then you get to
How
the
about
point,
780 investors?
and they're all getting their 2 points.
Oh, yeah, they're all getting their 2 points.
So when did things go sideways?
Well, that was 1999. And I'll never forget it. Kenny comes to me. Ange, there's so many things we got to talk about. We're both New York guys. We actually come from the same town when your family went from Brooklyn to Belmore before you got to East Northport. My family is in Belmore, Long Island. Kenny, I really like you. Let's sit down and talk. And I laid out everything to him. And he was like, oh my God.
So why'd you decide to tell Kenny?
I guess finally you've been asking me something
Stuff
quite a few times.
Does stuff eat at you? Is there any morals? Is there any guilt? Even though you're getting your $15K a month to keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely. Looks like I got a conscience.
Finally.
Looks like I got a soul.
Well, Kenny's a good guy.
Great guy. I love him to death. I consider him a family member to me. And here we are in June of 1999. And I spill the beans.
To him.
He says, what do we do now? Well, we kill Luigi.
We kill Luigi.
Right.
This is your idea.
Yeah. And we take over the company. And we save the investors. Ken looks at me and says, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was sitting here having a drink with you and you're talking. I said, I'm in a jam right now. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you think I should do? Let's kill the guy.
Let's kill the guy.
Look at you like you're crazy.
So Ken says, I think that's a good idea.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. I said, but Ken, you're a legitimate guy. You can't get involved. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to call Toast, my brother. He's been out here. Luigi knows him well. And that's when the big fiasco comes into play. And we bring in William James McLean, my brother, the only man that I've done things with that I wouldn't do with any other human being, that wouldn't give up nobody.
Right.
And I said, buddy, we got to get rid of the big guy. He's doing cocaine. He's smoking 20 joints a day. He's doing 2 8-balls a day of blow. He's doing nootropic drugs. He doesn't know where he is, where he's coming from, but he's going to destroy all these lives. Got to get rid of him so we can build the company up, get investments, and pay these people back. He says, my good brother, whatever you want to do. I said, okay. And then the whole Luigi saga starts.
Talk to me. You make this decision. Your boy is going to take him out for you.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
With me.
Oh, the two of you were going to do this.
Yeah, can't do it alone.
So the two of you
Right.
were going to take him out yourselves.
Right.
Okay, so what happens?
So here goes the fiasco. Now, the comedy of errors come to play. And this is where I'm able to talk about it because I already told it to the FBI. Told them exactly what I thought about the man. Man's a prick. The man's no good. And I said, if I had the opportunity to kill him, I would have. So here we go. We go to his big mansion in Laguna Niguel. 8,000 square foot, $4 million house. And Toast and I get there. And we have a guy with us by the name of Melbro Williams. He was the head of our security. Another good brother that played football for Tennessee. We all got pistols. We can't find Luigi. Nobody's there. Luigi. Yeah, in this big mansion, we can't find him. Finally, there he is.
He's already dead.
No. He's sitting in his bathroom with all feces around him and urine, right, telling us that the FBI is coming in with a SWAT team and they're on the roof right now and they're coming down with hooks and
He's
ropes.
hallucinating.
Hallucinating.
Okay.
So I look at Toast. I look at Mel, bro. Toast has got it. I got it. I said, Toast, Mel, bro. Mel, bro, go back to the office, right? And tell them we found Luigi. He's not doing good. We think he's overdosed. And I think we're going to take him. What do you think, buddy? We take him to John Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore? Toast says, absolutely. They'll cure him up. He stayed there for a month. He'll be in good shape. So we give her to Mel, bro. We get Luigi up. And we get him convinced that we're going to take him to the hospital. Got to get you feeling good, buddy. You got this big company. You got a beautiful wife from Brenda. You got your beautiful baby Anastasia. You got Brenda's kids from her first marriage. Come on, man. So it's nighttime, and our first episode was this is, I mean, it is funny today, but it wouldn't have been funny if it happened. We're on the 73. They had just built it.
Toll road.
Toll road.
Yeah.
Goes from like Newport Beach area over to San Clemente.
Right.
We're riding on that. I'm in the front seat. Luigi's next to me in my Escalade. Toast is in the back seat. Pulls a pistol out. Puts it to the back of the head. All of a sudden, Toast is looking at me for the signal, right? What happens in front of me? Oh my God. All these police cars, fire engines, major accident on a 73. I think somebody passed away. Oh my God, somebody got killed on here. And I go, Toast, I don't think it's a good day. I said, I think we'll wait for tomorrow. There's something that's not right up here. He puts the pistol back in his pocket. So that was our first go around. Bingo. He doesn't get it. Okay. We sleep in the house with him that night. The next day, we put him in the car. All right, we're going to go to Baltimore. Going to get you help. But all night, he's smoking those joints and he's putting that shit up his nose.
In the hospital?
No, in his big house.
Okay.
We're good, right? Next day, we take off for our road trip. Now, I don't know California that well yet. I'm only out here, a few years. I get on what I now know is the 15 freeway.
Right.
But I go the wrong way. I go south instead of north.
You go to San Diego?
Yeah. I'm saying, wait, man, this is not right. So I swing around, and Toast is looking at me. He says, brother, what are we doing with this guy? I said, okay. I find what I call an off-road dirt road. I thought was a dirt road. Well, today I know it's called the 76. It was before Powell was built.
Right.
And I go down this road, and I find another dirt road, and I said, we go into the woods. All of a sudden, there's all these trees, and there's a stream. Beautiful. Get him out of the car. I got mine. Toast has his. We're going to whack him right there. What happens to us? Here they come. 2 cowboys on horses. Hey, partner, what are you guys doing here? Huh? Look at Toast and put that away. I said, I'm in the real estate business. Oh, you must be looking for the big ranch up there over yonder on top of the hill. That's the one that's for sale. Oh, how do I get to it? Well, back out of here, right? Go back on that highway that was there, and you can go around. I said, no problem. I look at Toast. I said, you believe this?
This isn't meant to be.
This is twice.
Yeah.
This can't be. Right. This is a bad omen.
Right.
Get him back in the car again. Henceforth, now I'm going the right way. I'm now going north on the 15. We get to Vegas. Get to my spot, the MGM Grand. I can't bring him in there. Across the street is Motel 6. I said, Toast, stay here for the night. I'll fly somebody out, drive this guy back to Baltimore. Let the good brothers, the Muslims, let them help you. Let Taimir and your brother, Yukon, just kill him in both. Let's just do it there. Right? We throw him in Dre Park, just like we did the other one, and just leave it alone. He says, good idea. He says, you fly back to Cali, right? Establish your alibi. I'll drive with him cross country. No problem. So, of course, I go over to the MGM Grand. I got my comps there. I got everything. I was a big player there for 5 years. I stay up for the night. Next day, I asked them for their jet to fly me back. I fly back to Cali. He gets in the car. 2 days later, I get a phone call. Hi, Ange. Toast, what's up? You ain't gonna believe this. I'm gonna believe what? You know I got that narcolepsy? Yeah? Well, I fell asleep with the gun on my chest, and Luigi took it from me, and he begged me for mercy, and he held the gun on me, and he says, look, Toast, Ange is no good. Ange is no good. Please, don't kill me. Don't do anything. Toast, I'm not here to kill you. He had fell asleep with the gun on his stomach, sound asleep on the bed. Luigi comes out of his stupor that he was in, and he takes the gun. Now what does he do? He calls up his ex-wife, not his ex-wife, his wife, then Brenda. 5 security guys at John Wayne Airport to meet him there, all armed. He comes off the plane. All right, that was number 3, huh? So we messed up that one. He gets back to California. I believe that's when he gets John Burnett, big defense attorney, out there in Newport Beach. And he goes to the FBI building in L.A. And he says to them exactly what happened. He got kidnapped by these guys. This is what they were going to do to me.
Luigi goes to the FBI.
Right. But something is not right because they're looking at this guy tell the story. But they're smart enough to know this man's high as a kite. It doesn't look right.
They don't know who he is at this point.
They have no idea.
Okay.
They now check out who he is through a guy named Rick Morton, who was the head of Organized Crime Task Force in Orange County, at Rokakis' office, the DA in Orange County.
So he has to be whacked out on drugs to go to the FBI to tell on you guys while he's doing something that's a federal crime.
100%.
Okay.
All of a sudden, a few days later, in come 2 investigators into my office. They sit down. Hi, Rick Morton, Ohio Wilson. Yeah, how you doing, folks? You know Luigi DeFonso? I said, oh, yeah, that piece of shit. Yeah, what about him? They look at me. Well, did you try to kill him? Just like that. I said, yeah, how do you know? I said, for sure. I wasn't successful. They're looking at each other. Who would say this?
Yeah, why?
Right.
What is that about?
What guy like this would make admit to that?
Yeah, I tried to kill him.
And then they said to me, is he on drugs? I said, yeah. Smokes 20 joints a day and does about an 8-ball to 2 8-balls a day. Well, where does he get the cocaine from? I said, from me. Where do you get it from? I go down to L.A., I see the guy's on the corner, I buy it. He gives me $2,000. It only cost me $1,000, so I made $1,000 for going down to L.A., and I bring it back to him. They bust out laughing. You're really telling the truth. 100%. The part of this story that we probably will not be able to get into today was I said to them in my office on Van Carmen Avenue in Newport Beach, before you pass judgment, let me get somebody on the telephone. Okay. FBI New York. Yeah, let me have so-and-so, 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 please. It's Angelo Ales calling.
Your guy.
Gets on the phone. Hey, Gugine, what's going on? I've got a little problem. He says, what'd you do now? He says, do I have to lock you up? No. I said, you don't have to put no bracelets on me. I want you to talk to somebody, head of Organized Crime Task Force. And Sean, the rest becomes history. It becomes so complicated from that point there. I know we don't have enough time today to tell you what happened, but that's where it gets very interesting. So I know my guy says the right things to these 2 investigators. And they sit down and they say to me, quote, we'd like you to, this is after hours, of course, hours of conversation. We'd like you to keep this place open to catch bad guys.
So they want you to become an informant.
Right. Do we get a holds pass on everything that's going on here? He says, absolutely, positively.
He can't put that in writing, though.
Of course not. Right?
Yeah.
I said, well, let me introduce you to my partner.
Yeah.
Ken Cusway, Rick Morton, Lyle Wilson, and the party begins.
So you wanted
July of 1999.
You wanted to make sure that Kenny got some immunity too.
Only Kenny. That's all I cared about.
All right. So you keep your office open to catch bad guys, as he put it.
100%.
And Kenny's helping you catch bad guys.
Absolutely.
So you're both informants.
100%.
Okay.
The whole thing flips. The whole script flips.
So people are still investing at this point? Still?
Mm-hmm.
Who's handling that? With Luigi whacked out, who's handling that?
Well, we got rid of him. He's out of the company.
How?
We threw him out. We took over the bank accounts. Nothing was ever under his name. It was always under DFJ Italia. It was under our CFO, John Loy, and Robert Winter. So it was easy. He has no control of the money.
So you didn't have to kill him.
Well, didn't have to, but wanted to.
Right.
But after 3 trips, 3 times, karma, that's a bitch. And then you say your luck is that bad.
Right.
So the hell with it. And now you're not going to do it.
Well, your luck was that good.
Or that good. Yes. But it turns ugly later on, too.
So you kick him out. The feds are on to this fake company.
And allowing a Ponzi scheme to stay open and to turn around. And they got an FBI agent involved. And the FBI agent knows what we're doing. And the whole world knows what we're doing. Does that mean that the government participated in this Ponzi scheme? That's a yes.
So the government allowed the Ponzi scheme to continue. People are not getting their 2%.
Well, they are getting it by us bringing in new investors.
Right, but the new investors aren't getting it.
Exactly. Because when the collapse comes March of the following year, that was it. That's when Eric Dickerson and 2 other people
got in and didn't get their money.
And they went to an involuntary bankruptcy proceeding, and they closed the place down. By that time, though, I was in on my 5th violation.
So while you were an informant, you went to prison. For what?
Unreported income. Luigi called up my PO and told him I was making all this money at DFJ Italia. So I took a 9-month hit for unreported income.
So what was Kenny doing while you were locked up? He was still trying to catch bad guys.
Trying to catch bad guys. But unfortunately, they ran out of investors, ran out of money. I wasn't there to help. And Eric Dickerson comes in, puts the company in involuntary bankruptcy. They close the joint down.
So you're telling me that gold jacket wearing, single season Rush King, Eric Dickerson, was the straw that broke the camel's back to bring down DFJ Italia?
He wanted his $100,000 back and he never got it. 100%. 100%. And he came in, and him and Ken would know the other 2 people. I was not involved. See, I was involved in the entertainment end, setting everything up, all the parties, the movies. That's what I was doing. So, but Ken knows the name of the other 2 investors. It was 3 of them. And they brought down and got the place closed down. 100%.
So Eric Dickerson and 2 other investors.
Yeah.
Came together.
Yes, came together through Deval Love, who was Eric's good friend. Like I said, he was the offensive tackle for Pittsburgh and for the Rams. And he played there when Eric was there because he's the one who brought Eric in. And then with his help, they turned around and they got the company closed down.
So you talked to me about these boxers. Fernando Vargas.
Ugh.
So you guys sponsored them.
Yes.
Did they ever take any of their earnings and invest it back into DFJ Italia?
Yes. And Kenny, better than me, has all the figures and all the numbers. Robert Garcia, good guy. I just actually talked to him about 6 months ago. Great young man. Today he's a trainer doing what he did. He was the lightweight. He was the IBF lightweight champion of the world, right? Robert Garcia. Fernando, who I gave a Rolex watch to when he became the IBF welterweight champion, was putting money back in. The biggest investor was a featherweight, but Kenny would have it all down for you. Miguel Angel Gonzalez. He put in the most money. Oh, they were furious.
Out of any investor.
They were, yeah.
They put
no,
in
no, no. They were, no. Oh, no.
Out of the sports guys.
Out of sports guys. They put about 400,000 in.
And so these people were putting their prize money back into
the fund
DFJ Italia
to get their 2 points a month.
And they wound up not getting it.
Not getting it. And there were a lot of death threats too. A lot of death threats against the company. See, I never brought in one investor. But they knew that I was giving the parties and all that. So, of course, they were going to consider me just as bad as Kenny. But I never talked to one person about investment.
So Kenny's working for DFJ Italia, not knowing that it is phony as
absolutely
a $4 bill.
4 years and 6 months, he knew nothing.
And he's investing, and his family members are investing.
Oh, my God.
And his friends are investing.
His friends are investing. And at that point there, he had no idea whatsoever. Nothing. Knew nothing. Kenny was as blind could be until he sat me down and I confessed. Because you just said something. Did my heart, mind, body and soul, that I finally find a conscience? And that answer was yes. The answer was yes. I did. I couldn't take it no more.
So everything's out in the open?
Everything's out in the open.
How do you and Kenny and other people wind up going to jail? Especially you and Kenny. You and Kenny are informants. You're working for the government. How do you wind up going to jail when you're helping them catch bad guys?
Well, it was a very interesting scenario there. Why am I going to prison and I never brought in one investor? Because of my background, my felony convictions before, and they realized from my confession, my own confession, that in 1995, the early years of DFJ Italia, I brought phony tax returns back to Luigi, and he got a $2 million credit line with Wells Fargo Bank. Well, that's conspiracy to defraud.
Right.
In 1999, we made the movie called Final Payback, right, with Richard Grieco, Martin Cove, John Saxon.
And on the credits, it says DFJ Italia.
Absolutely. Well, it says Latin Film Group.
Okay, Latin Film Group.
That was our film company.
Okay.
And who else started
under the DFJ
And who
umbrella?
else starred in that movie?
Talk to me.
Yours only, Angelo Ales.
I gotta check
And
it
what
out.
part did I play? Sally Boy DePonzo. Right. And why did we come up with that name? Because we wanted to stick it up DeFonzo's ass. I was so upset we couldn't kill him, right? I was so upset that we missed 3 times, right? So when we do the movie, we said, how about calling me Sally Boy DePonzo, right? And I was the gangster in the movie. And, you know, I got a SAG card and everything else is history. But yes, and to this day, matter of fact, my fiance of 20 years, Catherine, she has a copy of the movie and she's seen it. And matter of fact, if you go on Amazon Prime,
it's there.
And you put in Final Payback, it's there.
I'll check it out.
Oh, it's there.
I need to watch your character. If nothing.
Oh, you'll get a kick out of it.
So Kenny goes to prison, even though they knew that he was bringing in investors and thought that the company was legitimate.
Absolutely.
Did they believe him when he said, I thought this was legitimate?
I believe they did. The problem is where the government played dirty to us is when they turned the tables and said, well, in July, you guys met Rick Morton and Lionel Wilson. You confessed to what you were doing. Okay, yeah. You told us to keep the company open. What are you talking about? They were hesitant of any of us taking it to trial. Hesitant. Because they knew we would tell them exactly what they told us to do. Matter of fact, you would say, well, Angelo, what bad guy did you catch? Well, I got a guy that I caught, and my goodness gracious. Kenny remembers the name. It'll come to me. He asked me if he could wash $600,000 with our company. I said, absolutely. He put all the money to me personally. And Brian, not Brian Stearns, Brian D'Antonio.
Okay.
And he was running his own little Ponzi scheme with elders on some kind of telephone scam. And he wrote me out a check for $600,000. I put it in my personal checking account. And I turned that over to the feds and said, this is what he's doing. Okay? And we caught him. Another guy was named Brian Stearns, got 27 years. He took down millions and millions of dollars from people in Texas. He was investing with us. We brought him down. So we were catching bad guys. Feds gave us no credit when the time came. Zero credit. Zero. Now, my charges were unrelated to DFJ Italia. Mine was conspiracy to defraud because I brought Luigi out tax returns in 1995. Had nothing to do with DFJ. It's when we were, DFJ Italia with Diatorelli Candy, like I told you in the beginning.
Right.
So they charged me with that. And then they needed a second charge. And they got me for money laundering in 1999 when I made the movie Final Payback because I took some of an attorney's money that was bad, mixed it with my good money, that's called commingling,
right.
And they charged me with money laundering. And that's how I got my 46 months.
And they gave Kenny no credit for helping.
No credit for helping. Gave him his time. And that's why this story has become so important to us that, it's a travesty of justice.
I understand what you mean by that because it's incredible to me when you frame it in such a manner that makes it clear that the government allowed this Ponzi scheme to continue, allowed people to continue to invest their money in order to catch
bad guys.
Well, were they looking for specific bad guys?
No, that was their terminology. Bad guys. Just people.
They weren't looking to bring down anybody in the mafia. They weren't looking to bring down anybody in the Hells Angels. They weren't looking to bring down anybody along those lines.
Well, they were. They were. Of course they were. They knew.
They didn't tell you.
They didn't tell us. But they knew we had George Chrissy, the president of the Ventura chapter, involved as an investor. They knew we had Bobby Carins, the boxing promoter and sports agent from Camarillo. Okay, and I say Kenny is really well versed on all that.
Is Camarillo a crime family?
No. Camarillo, I think it's in the name of the town. Yeah,
Camarillo. Okay, so you brought that guy's name up.
Yeah, of course.
So why was he important? Why did they care about him?
Well, because they were watching him on other avenues for years. What was he doing as far as bringing in, I guess, what would you call them when you would pay recruiters? When you would pay star athletes money when they were college stars?
Oh, yeah.
That's what Bobby Carins was doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he has since died of cancer, so he's out of the picture. That's how we got into the boxing business, from Bobby Carins.
How'd you meet him?
Through Ken Cusway, through a guy named Ralph Wilson, who was a sports doctor up in Ventura.
So one thing that we didn't mention was that Kenny has mafia ties and background too.
Ken Cusway?
Yeah.
None.
Zero.
He can't even spell the word mafia. He thinks it says Mothers and Fathers Improvement Association, MAFIA. Kenny had none. It was all me.
But in talking with Kenny in his early days, he said his uncle was involved in.
Oh, that's way back. Yeah, but Kenny didn't.
So what I mean by that is
he knew it existed. He's a New York guy.
I'm not saying that Kenny was involved in the mafia at the time.
Right.
But when Kenny was young, Kenny was doing some things.
Yeah, fireworks and selling stuff out of garages and swag stuff. But that's every New York guy. That's everybody in I mean, that's a way of life in New York.
It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
How has this DFJ Italia saga changed your life?
Well, 2 more incarcerations, which gave me a total of 7, because of the things that I was involved in. Loss of money, loss of income, loss of credibility. I can't talk to somebody without them Googling my name and coming up. I mean, I sit here today with my fiance of 20 years, and her sister is an LAPD detective. Imagine me going into her Mormon family, and I'm there on house arrest. I had an ankle brace on when I met her. You know, she wanted to know why I didn't put diamonds on it, make it look really bling, you know. And explaining to her father, who was the head of animal regulations in LA for 35 years, general manager, and her sister, who's an LAPD detective to this day, and explaining to them who I am. I pull up to her house in a limousine with a driver, and here comes this Italian guy out, you know, with $1,000 suit on and bling all over the place. What do you do for a living? Iron and steel business. Oh, really? Yeah, my mother irons and I steel. So, I mean, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm explaining to her Mormon family who I am. Well, how long did it take her sister to find out that my background was this? But you know what? They believed in me. They believed in me. They saw that I was just going to be a changed man and that things were different. You know, that I was tired of it. And that's what it really boiled down to. I was tired of the lifestyle, man. Tired of it. Knew it wasn't meant for me. Never should have been from the beginning. My father was always right to protect me.
So you're on the up and up now?
That's a yes. That's definitely a yes. One, I'm too old to go back to prison. Health conditions. And I'm tired. I'm a tired man. And that answer is a yes. I've had it. You know, that's why we're doing this. Let's do something legit. Let's come with a guy like yourself that's a legitimate man, at least on the surface to us. Who knows? You might have some demons in your pocket. You might even have a body under your belt. Who really knows? You know, you're an African-American. Anything's possible. You know,
That's funny.
and half Cuban. Who knows? Right? Maybe you're part of Fidel's crew. We don't know. But for the most part, we know you're an honest guy. What a great background. And we feel our story should be told, and should be told to youngins. This is not the way to go. And that's the first thing I would tell them. Don't look at the glorious things you see on TV. Don't watch the Goodfellas and the Donnie Brascos and the guys in the nightclubs and drinking and diamond rings.
What do you make of that? And I'm glad you kind of teased me about being black and we don't know what's in your background. I know that was all tongue in cheek, but
Of course it was.
But when Alexis and I were talking on the way over here, how mafia life and gangster life has been glorified in this country, not just in this country, right?
In the world.
It's been glorified with the movies, right? And I said to her, I find it interesting that crimes committed by people who look a certain way is more acceptable than crimes committed by people who look another way. Now you said way back when that you were attracted to the bling, the lifestyle, the money, the clothes. That's no different from your boy Toast in a different neighborhood, running a different hustle. It might have been similar to you. It might have been some other things, but you have people coming from whatever their prejudices are will look at two different people and say, that crime is disgusting and those people are animals. And those people, that's exciting.
Why? Because we go to church on Sunday and confess our sins? Because we turn around and have Sunday meals with our family? Because we turn around and have all these big parties at weddings and we love our kids and we'll do charity events? Are we serious? Oh, but my good brother, he robbed 33 banks. Okay, and he did like 28 years total over his lifespan.
But that's a black guy robbing
But that's
the bank.
a black guy robbing the bank, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's a bad guy. Yeah. And what about his guys slinging all that dope on the street? Him taking me through the darkest neighborhoods in Baltimore, saying to me, look at these kids, 12, 13, 14 years old, out there carrying and slinging shit. Funniest, not a funny, it's not funny, Angelo. Change that. Sad. I'm in Lewisburg Penitentiary, waiting to go to one of my institutions. I actually think I was going to FCI McKean, and that was a holding facility, the penitentiary. And they asked me, hey, you want to work for a few days in the laundry? I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Just hand out the clothes to the guys coming in. and there was a young brother that came up to the window. I said, "Oh, you can't be more than a size medium. What are you doing here? How old are you?" He said, "I'm going to be 18. And what happened?" He says, "Well, I just got sentenced." Sentenced to what? Triple life. Triple life.
For what?
Murders. Rioting in the streets of Washington, D.C., killing other drug dealers. I said, "How old were you?" 15, 16, 17. I look, my heart went out to this kid. He has no idea what he's facing.
Right.
You know, and here you are, coming into Lewisburg Penitentiary, going to be 18 years old next week, facing triple life. Already been sentenced. Done, finished, over. Lights out. Rest of his life, he'll be in Lewisburg Penitentiary or one of the penitentiaries. Probably even send him to, who knows, maybe one of the big facilities. And yet, you look at him and say, well, he's black. That's what they do.
Right.
You know, they swing that shit in the street. That's how they make a living. All started with the eras of Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes and all that, right? Driving Bentleys and Rolls Royces. But that's the black man. That's what he does. Well, what does the Italian guy do? Kills people? Loan sharking? Takes down innocent people? Takes over businesses? What makes him any better? Oh, wait a second. He talks to you about his marinara sauce and his meatballs and his spaghetti.
And he's got a cool accent.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
How's the water?
Yeah.
Everything's great. What makes him any different? He's a common criminal. I'm a common criminal. So I didn't go into the dope game. But what about our bosses that were bringing in heroin from the French Connection and making hundreds of millions of dollars? Who did they feed it to? Okay, well, we're going to sell it up to Harlem. We're going to give it to Frank Lucas and to Nicky Barnes, but none of us better creep down into Brooklyn because we don't want our kids infested with it. It's only good for the black man. How hypocritical is that? How hypocritical is that? So that black man is not human? He doesn't put his pants on the same way we do? He doesn't go to the bathroom the same way we do? And he doesn't have a mother that loves him or a father that loves him? Well, he's a black man, so we're going to put those drugs in the black community because they're the ones that are going to do it. Then when they went from heroin to the cocaine to the crack, which was a derivative of cocaine, a cheaper form, and those poor women that were prostituting themselves so they could buy crack and they could smoke it in their pipe. It's okay, isn't it? They're not celebrating Christmas Eve. They're not doing the 7 fishes on that night. They're not there with their family opening up presents. They're going to be looking for their next hit on the street. So we're going to just sell it to the black man. And how many movies are there like that? Maybe American Gangster, maybe with Denzel Washington, with Frank Lucas.
Right. Maybe
1 or 2 stories on Nicky Barnes. But how many are there of us? From Goodfellas to Casino to the Donnie Brasco story to over the years.
It makes it look fun.
Makes it look like it's fun. Yeah. Because we're respectful. We say please and thank you. We don't talk Ebonics, do we?
No. Did you see the movie Ghost Dog?
No, sir.
I need you to watch the movie Ghost
I will.
Dog. It stars Forrest Whitaker.
Love him.
And if my memory serves me correctly, he's a hitman, but he's all into the ways of the samurai, right? And he works with the mob. If my memory serves me correctly, they pay him money to do work for them. And so there's a scene where the mobsters are making fun of the black guys and the nicknames they call each other. It's like, why do they call each other like Pookie and Ray Ray and all this other stuff? And then in the next breath, he says, "Hey, Fat Tony." And he reels off like several nicknames that mobsters have for each other. Let's get out of here. Let's go get something to eat. And the scene was to show you're the same.
Same. Sammy Meatballs.
Right.
Rocky the Rug.
Right.
Fat Tony. Handsome Jack.
Right.
Good Looking Sal.
It was a great scene in the movie to show that, like, not just the hypocrisy, but the blindness that these folks are doing. Those guys are doing their thing, and that's disgusting. That's beneath us. Crime is crime, murder is murder. You know what I mean? It's all the same, and for some reason, it gets glorified on one side of the fence and demonized on the other side.
Demonized on the other side because that's what the black man does, but not the white Italian guy. He's a man of honor. He's classy. Bullshit. And I know firsthand.
Angelo, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. As I said when we first started, this was a story worth breaking protocol. You know, this is Cops and Convicts, but today I wanted to have a conversation with you, a very unique and special convicted felon. I know that's not all you are, but I needed to bring you in today and have this conversation with you because it was an important one to have. Not just what happened to you, but how you view the world and how you viewed your time inside of organized crime and how you see things now. Thank you for coming.
Sean, I thank you for having me. And on ending, I want to again wish you and your family a happy holiday.
Same to you, brother.
But just to show you how crazy I was at one time, in one of the books I was starting to write, the DFJ Italia story, Corporate Mafia, here was a little synopsis I put in the beginning of the book. Woman are my hobby. Crime is my passion. And it summed it all up right there and then. And if we ever get to go forward with the DFJ Italia story, you will not even believe what the public is out there and how they fell for this. Because our stories for DFJ Italia are endless. And I just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Salute, brother.
Salute and happy holidays.
Same to you.